July 24th, 2025. If everyone would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I do want to give notice that we had an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss real estate and legal issues. We're going to start off the evening with a general public participation. Know that you are welcome to speak during each agenda item, but if you'd like to speak now, that's fine. I'd like you to come up to the podium, speak loudly into the microphone, give your name and your street. And you have 5 minutes for public participation per person.
Hello. Hey, everyone. My name is Eleanor Ball, 608 Lindsay Circle, and this is my neighbor, Susan Fahey. What are you, 606? 606. 606 Lindsay Circle. We're here to update all of you on the issues with the Willis Park Preserve and the noise which is continuing to disturb our neighborhood. We've been working on this for a long time, as many of you know, and it remains a problem. It has been brought to our attention that maybe you all are not getting updates on the regular about what's been happening, and so we're here to do that. You are the landlord for the WPP, and so we're here to ask you to enforce the terms of the lease, specifically one particular clause, which we have here. So in the interest of time, I'll just read it. The WPP acknowledges and agrees that it will access and use the leased premises in such a manner as to not interfere with nor cause disturbance to Radnor residents using the park and or residing at or near the park. So as you know, we are very near the park. The problem has gone on way too long, years now. And we believe it really is in large part due to lack of leadership. And we're asking you as leaders in the township to help bring this to a conclusion. We know there are many constituents, the township, you, the WPP, but as the landlord, this is really your responsibility. We know that you signed the lease, but we don't know who's managing the lease, and we don't know who is responsible for staying on top of this on an ongoing basis. So we have three things that we want to ask. Number one, that you enforce the terms of the lease as it relates to the do not cause disturbance to Radnor residents using the park and or residing at or near the park. We also ask that you mandate that all music be moved inside effective immediately. Those with DJ or band, regardless of event size, as there are approximately 15 additional outside events in addition to the 25 large events that have outdoor music. And the third thing that we're asking is that that the township purchase the Mondo Media Solutions speaker box that's been talked about a number of times. This is the locked speaker box. It was suggested and requested in 2023. And they did offer a proposal in November of 2024. If you don't have a copy of that, we do, and we can get that to you. But these are our requests at this time. The problem is an ongoing annoyance, and it's time to bring it to a conclusion.
And just to close, maybe some data, and hopefully as the landlord, you folks know these data. We requested and received from Will Nord an updated Google Doc sheet, which I can't say I'm fully intimate with all of the columns he has on it and necessarily understand all of it, but the basic 30,000 foot view is is that this year, this season, starting in, I believe it was May and going through November, there are close to 50 total events. They're on this Google Doc event sheet. And some of them are large and some of them are small, but the reality is there's 50 events. Of those, roughly 46-ish are outside on the terrace or the tent. And of those, roughly 35 have a DJ or a band currently listed as part of the event. So the lease clearly states 25 large events with outdoor music. We now have 35 that have music. And again, some might be small and some might be large, but our lived experience is no matter whether it's small or large, it can still be loud. There are an additional roughly 8 or so events that don't have music listed yet. They still have the events. And again, I'm not sure I'm reading the sheet right. So of these 8 questionable events, I'm not quite sure whether they are events or will have music. And interestingly enough, there were 2 events that talked about the guest, the renter, bringing their own speaker. Well, that's an interesting twist on trying to maintain and manage and control noise, bringing your own speaker. So the noise continues, as Eleanor said, and our neighbors will attest to. It remains unacceptable after 4 years. This October will be 4 years of the first complaint that was filed with the WPP, and we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation?
Hello, I'm Mark Danick. I'm an attorney for Joe Schumacher, 607 South Valley Forge Road. The reason why I'm here tonight, Mr. Schumacher was unable to attend, but the reason why I'm here tonight is that last month's board meeting, there was a stormwater management and infrastructure program presentation presented. In that, one of the proposed project is a stormwater, I guess, I hate to say sewer main, but like a stormwater main reconstruction that's partially on my client's property. It's been deteriorating for a while. He's been working with the township since 21. There's also an engineered plan in place. And it looks like currently from last month's presentation, they're making a request that it be included in the budget so that it's completed next year. My client would be very happy if the Board of Supervisors would approve funding for that project, as well as the other ones that are mentioned in the infrastructure program that was presented last month, so that his property will not suffer any further deterioration from the stormwater that's running over the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does Mr. Norsini have your contact information, or you back and forth?
Yeah,
Perhaps you could put your heads together.
Yeah, I can give him my card. I've been in touch with him and Mr. Rice as well.
He's working through our solicitor directly.
Wonderful, fine.
Thank you.
Any further public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that any member of the Board of Commissioners or the public would like to pull? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? All right. Could I have a motion to pass the consent agenda? So moved. And a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. On to the business agenda. The first item is 3A, Resolution 2025-104, a resolution of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, establishing an official policy that in its law enforcement officers and resources shall not be engaged in the enforcement of non-criminal federal immigration laws. Commissioner Mulrooney, you want to start us out?
I do. Thank you, President Myers. Tonight, I'm proud to introduce this resolution that affirms Radnor's core values of fairness, dignity, and inclusion. The measure makes clear that our local police will not participate in immigration enforcement activities or enter into any 287G agreement with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. And after meeting with our chief and some others in the Radnor Police Department, after that discussion, we're also adding into the resolution a request that the RPD is trained on this policy, so there's no confusion if or when ICE comes to Radnor. I believe across this country we're seeing the harmful effects of ICE raids in other communities. Some are very close to us. Families are torn apart, neighbors are living in fear, and residents are arrested indiscriminately, sometimes without cause or due process. These actions create confusion and mistrust, not just among undocumented residents, but throughout our entire neighborhoods. They weaken public safety by driving people into the shadows, afraid to report crimes or seek help when they need it most. And this is not who we are in Radnor. We are a welcoming community. We value the contributions of all who call Radnor home, regardless of their immigration status. I believe strongly in the constitutional rights of due process and equal protection under the law, and I believe that trust between law enforcement and the community is essential to our shared safety and well-being. This resolution is about affirming those values. It's about ensuring that no one in Radnor has to fear that a call for help could lead to deportation, and it's about standing up for human dignity and our responsibility to do what is just. So thank you for entertaining this resolution. I hope that I have the support of my colleagues, and let's take care of each other.
Any commissioner questions, comments? Could I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-104, moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second? Second by Commissioner Coates. Any public participation on this issue? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote. All in favor of Resolution 2025-104, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thank you all.
Item 3B, Resolution 2025-102, urging state lawmakers to provide robust funding for public transportation, including the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, otherwise known as SEPTA. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by, who was it down there? Commissioner Larkin. And a second. Second by Commissioner Agnew. Any commissioner comments or questions? Everybody read the resolution?
Save SEPTA.
Yeah, save SEPTA, exactly. Any,
But you ride it. Right.
any public participation on this issue? Well, we're all pro-SEPTA in the room. Excellent. I'm going to call and vote. All in favor of Resolution 2025-102, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Item 3C is a caucus, so there will be no motion or voting on this issue. It's a final land development plan approval for 1300 Eagle Road, Eastern University, for the Gym Learning Center, Centennial Hall, and parking lot renovation. Welcome, gentlemen.
Evening, Nick Cagnolia representing the applicant along with Rob Lambert, the civil engineer on the project. Rob will call up the plan. You've seen this plan previously during preliminary. It's in addition to the gym facilities at Eastern University. There were a couple minor variances granted previously. This gym addition is really for the current students. It's a modernization of what exists. Actually, I believe this facility has been the same since Eastern was established at this site, probably in the late 1950s. So it's a modernization, is to serve the current students and the current sports teams that are vastly undermined by the inability of the facilities. It also would provide office space for some of the coaches where they now double up. You'll see on the plan, the site plan, where the gym is located. Rob can point it out.
So I'll use the aerial to show you where it is. So on the left-hand side of the aerial image, you see the existing pool. Right to the right of that is the existing gym building. We'll reference the parking lot just to the left of where the pool is. The other area is the Eagle Learning Center. That's actually in the upper right-hand corner of the plan. And then there's this barrack parking lot, which will be right to the left of the kind of the brown areas of building, and then right to the right of that is an open green area, which will be additional parking. If I go, yeah. Oh, and then the connection. So I'm going to go through those kind of orient you. So I'm going to go through 3 plans here. So the first plan I'm going to show you is the gym area. So up to the top of the page are the two existing athletic fields. The darker brown area is the addition to the existing gym. The existing gym is just to the right of that. We're going to reconfigure the existing parking lot that's to the west of the gym area. The existing access out to Fenimore will be restricted. I think we've talked about this one before. It's going to be restricted to maintenance and emergency access, so everyday traffic will not be using that access point. And they constructed 2 bridges recently, and so we'll have a link road going back to connect to the rest of the campus road network and add a small parking area along that access driveway. The next project is the Eagle Learning Center. Again, there's a small addition on the bottom side, or the kind of bottom left corner is the darker brown area. We're going to be adding additional parking, so when we reconfigured the gym parking lot, we displaced some parking spaces. There's no net reduction in spaces, we just redistributed them on campus. So we have a parking area that's being added right next to the building. And then in the Sparrow area, to the left is the building I pointed out. To the right, there's just a few parking spaces added in that area. So those are kind of the 3 project areas describing what we're doing.
We have reviewed the review letters. There's only a couple comments on each where everything's acceptable to the applicant. One thing that we will be doing is providing the neighbors with updates as construction goes along. We intend to do that approximately bi-weekly, as well as if something special is occurring, to tell them about that as well.
You took the question I had right out of my mind. Thank you. Because the neighbors here are very involved in the area.
Yes.
And like to be well informed. So, all right, thank you. Questions, comments? We've seen it before, so I think
Okay.
it's we don't have a whole lot. Any public participation on this? It's a caucus, so.
Thank you.
Seeing none. All right, we'll see you again. All right, the next item is 3D, Resolution 2025-95, Preliminary Land Development Plan Approval for 800 Lancaster Avenue, Villanova University Connolly Center, expansion of the current student center. Mr. Canillo, you want to address
thank you.
this?
As to this plan, we would be requesting a continuance till next month. We intend to provide the township with additional information, be provided Mr. Orsini, Mr. Rice, and whoever else is required to have it. I have handed to Mr. Rice an extension letter through August 31st, and I also I will give a copy of that to Mr. Orsini as well.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to make a motion to table item 3D, Resolution 2025-95. All in favor? Second. Oh, I guess I needed a second. Thank you. All in favor? Oh, well.
Thank you.
Fine.
Have a good
We'll see
evening.
you in the future. Thanks for coming, everyone. All right. Item 3E, Resolution 2025-97, Preliminary Land Development Plan for 204 to 208 Stratford Avenue and 18 Forest Lane, Stratford Walk, formerly the Hamilton Trustees Lot, demolition of 3 dwellings, and construction of 29 single-family residences. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Agnew this time, and a second? Second by Commissioner Larkin. All right, do we have an applicant here? Yes.
Good evening. I'm George Brosman, representing the applicant, which is Rockwell Stratford LLC. Greg Lingo, the principal, is here this evening. This is Dave Sanders to my left from the engineering company. By way of reminder, this is the Hamilton property. There had been a plan proposed for townhomes, 41 townhomes, and then 36 townhomes. There were several meetings back earlier in the year, at least 3, with the commissioners, where a settlement plan was brought forward, culminating in an approval of the settlement plan and settlement agreement in March. That would reduce the number of dwellings down to 29 single-family detached, so no more townhomes, And some of the concerns of the township and the neighbors were addressed with this settlement plan. Adding a road to Eagle Road rather than having everything on Stratford, and enhanced buffering along the Grant Lane properties. This plan is consistent with the settlement agreement that was approved by you, and it was approved by the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. This is a preliminary plan, so we would be coming back for final. This plan is consistent with the settlement plan. It was recommended for approval by the Radnor Township Planning Commission. We have the approval resolution and are agreeable to all the conditions of approval.
Thank you. Commissioner, oh, hello, Commissioner Abel. Commissioner, questions or comments? Seeing none. I guess you've answered them already. We have seen this before. Any public participation on this? Seeing none, I will go ahead and call a vote on the preliminary land development plan approval for Resolution 2025-97. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3F, Ordinance 2025-07. This is an introduction, special purpose parking regarding the removal of handicap parking on Brook Street. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Agnew. Thank you. Hello. Do you want to speak to this? No? It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just the removal of a handicap spot. All right. Any commissioner questions or comments? No? Any public participation on this? No? Seeing none, I will call a vote on Ordinance 2025-07. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
This was an introduction, so it'll be advertised and come back.
Thank you.
Yep.
As opposed to item 3G, ordinance 2025-06, which is the adoption, amending the code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 270, Section 270-28, parking prohibited at all times. This is in reference to the area on Upper Gulf Road and Oak Grove Lane. We heard about it the last meeting. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Riley, and a second. Second by Commissioner Agnew. Thank you. Any comments from the police? No? Great. We did hear this one last time. Any questions from commissioners? Comments? No? Everybody's quiet tonight. Public participation on this issue? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Ordinance 2025-06. This is the adoption. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Item 3H, Ordinance 2025-05, up for adoption, amending Chapter 245, Stormwater Management, Article 8, Prohibitions, by adding a new section 245-48 for swimming pool water discharges. We also heard about this at the last meeting. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Riley. We'll give it to him this time. Mr. Norsini, do you have any comments on this?
Unless there's any questions from the board, no, I
Okay.
think we discussed
Any-
it fairly thoroughly.
Okay, any commissioner questions or comments? No? Any public participation? Seeing none, I'll call a vote on the adoption of Ordinance 2025-05. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. The next is item 3I, Ordinance 2025-03, the adoption of an ordinance of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the Radnor Township Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 205, Parks and Recreation Areas, Article 1, Section 205-4, Restricted Activities. The ordinance outlines specifically the current permissions of where dogs are permitted across parks in the system. All right. Could I have a motion?
Seconded.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Riley and seconded by Commissioner Larkin. Director Cohen, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, President Myers, I will get us going on this. So just to recap, over the last 4 years, well, 5 years since October 2020, the Parks and Recreation Board had been discussing this topic, which was brought forward originally specifically about concerns at the Willows Park and the Skunk Hollow Trails. There was a presentation, of course, that was made that led to many years of discussion that not only then was focused around the Willows and Skunk Hollow, but really ended up emerging into a lot of the other park areas in terms of evaluating the dogs that are in the parks and the current ordinance, which really, as we've discussed, had lacked clarity in terms of control. The Parks and Recreation Board then, of course, led down the path to get us to Ordinance 2024-01, which put a restriction to put the dogs on leashes on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, of course, noon to dusk at Skunk Hollow Park. We came back, of course, and we've been doing an annual review on that this year. And basically what's happening at this point, we have Ordinance 2025-3 that had been developed and brought forward to the board at the May Board of Commissioners meeting. I know that there was discussion, there was introduction. This led us to the June meeting where I understand it was tabled. I know that there was some feelings about the leash that had been incorporated in the parks where dogs are permitted. And I know that there was some discussion at a couple of the parks where there was desire to get, to basically take essentially North Wayne Park, Emlyn-Tennell Park, and put those in the category of basically permitting dogs off leash, similar to how we do currently over at Friends of Radnor Trails Park and Harford Park, which I know is leading us to tonight's discussion. I know there had been some confusion on this item. The Parks and Recreation Board had, in November, had discussion and a recommendation that was requiring a leash and actually wrote a recommendation to the commissioners with the desire to have a leash, put dogs on leash in the parks where dogs are actually permitted. They came back in December, they had discussion, and then that led them to strike the leash requirement, redline it essentially, and turn around and basically default to where we are with removing the leash requirement and just going back to dogs being under control. So I think in a nutshell that kind of encapsulates everything. I know I had a presentation I stepped through in May. I wasn't going to go through all of that again. I think tonight really is just discussion on where this item goes from here and whether or not a couple of the other parks might be evaluated to either have dogs be off leash or some fashion of dogs off leash, whether it's on a seasonal timing type commitment that we could write potentially into the ordinance. Depending on where we go tonight, it might lead us back to a new introduction of a new ordinance potentially next month with an adoption then, of course, in September. So I think at this point, I think we would just want to open up the discussion for the board to see how we want to go.
Thank you very much for that great summary. So I see this as I'm calling it what you've described as the 5-bucket plan instead of the 4-bucket plan. You have your parks with no dogs, you have your parks that have dogs on leash, you have your dog parks, you have Skunk Hollow, and then potentially now 2 parks that would be time constrained by the months in which the playing fields are used. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong, go ahead. Commissioner Mulrooney wanted to make a quick statement before we get started with discussion.
Yeah, I appreciate it, President Myers. It was brought to my attention that I made a misstatement last meeting. I think Tammy just did a lot to clear that up, that I had said that the Parks and Rec Board had made a recommendation to us. I think you heard her recitation. They had made a recommendation to us to keep dogs on leashes, the under control being defined as on leash. I went back to watch the meetings to figure out why I had made that misstatement, and I am very proud of the work that the Parks and Rec Board does, but I think on this issue, they have been so wavering and from the meetings that I watched, the tone of the room tends to influence which way they turn that night. It's a tough issue. We're clearly all in agreement that this is a tough issue because we've been at it for, 5 years trying to get to the right solution. So apologies for my misstatement. I do kind of think I sort of had a reason to see it that way. The recommendation of the Parks and Rec Board at this point is not swaying me from being in favor of leash dogs where we can, and happy to have the broader discussion about what the buckets look like, but thanks for letting me clear that up.
No problem. Any further commissioner comments, questions? Commissioner Larkin.
I do have a proposed amendment, as I think you kind of head faked in that direction. Just by way of clarification, I've heard a couple of people say that there are parks throughout the township where they're used for no purpose other than dogs. Nobody is ever there. And I tend to think that that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, that part of the reason that nobody else is there is because they're used exclusively for dogs and there's just not the appetite to go there. I will say, however, though, that one of the parks that came up in that conversation was the North Wayne Park. And I've looked at that. It's a little park that's tucked out of the way. It's really just got the baseball field and then a big open expanse of grass. It's not an area that I would expect to see people going on hikes through. It's not an area that I would expect to see kids playing in, particularly because Cowan Park is so close to it. Fenimore Woods is pretty close to it as well. And those are probably going to be the preferred destinations. If there's going to be a restriction on off-leash dogs, then I do think that it would be nice to create a place in the first ward or just sort of generally in the north of the township on that side that we keep that as an option. So I'd like to propose the following adoption to add a Romanet 3 to Section 8 sub B. And the Romanet B would be, the Romanet 3 would be North Wayne Park from September 29 through March 15, except as posted by the Radnor Township Parks Department. The concept being that it would be available for off-leash dogs during the off-season for baseball. And parenthetically, if I've gotten the off-season wrong, please correct me. And I also wanted to create an exception so that the township could post that there would be, for instance, a soccer game or something else, and maybe a couple of days beforehand just say there's going to be a game on this field, no dogs between now and Friday or something, so it gives the field the opportunity to. I'm looking for a way to say get rid of all the poop on the field without saying get rid of the poop on the field, but fundamentally that. Yeah, I was going to just run face first into it when I couldn't come up with something quickly.
Yeah, Jack, I don't know if you're aware, but that field is used by the Radnor Middle School for soccer season. So both boys and girls are on that field from, I would think it's, I can't remember the soccer season, but I think it's like.
They start in September and they go through
September to
November from
November.
3 to 5:30 each day.
So why don't we then subtract, I said September 29th, when is the end of, you said through November, is it the end of November?
Just before Thanksgiving, they wrap up.
So maybe December 1st through March 15th?
Yeah, but it is,
That can work.
sorry, just when we're getting to the March 15th, Little League can start March 15th. So if you back that up, maybe 2 weeks.
I would say
March
March,
1st.
I mean, if you could, to make it clean, I would go March 1st. And only say that because if the fields are capable of being open, we'll open them. Like, they're definitely anxious to get in there, get on there by the beginning of March.
Okay, this
So
is,
clarifying, you're offering 2.5 months of access?
it is 3 months.
3 months of,
Pretty narrow window at
of
this point.
off-leash access, and all other months, the dogs are leashed. Okay.
That's what it's drafted as right now, and I gotta say, if genuinely we're using the park for soccer and baseball pretty consistently during those other times, I'm supportive of the idea that it's not available for off-leash dogs at that point.
I'm going to just posit the why bother for 3 months. I think the confusion of knowing that you've got this limited winter window for dog running is perhaps more confusing, Director Cohen, but it just seems like a very slim window to even bother making such an exception.
And
It is-
then is the township responsible for going through and cleaning the field?
Nope, it's the responsibility of the dog owners. And by the way, dogs can poop on the field whether they're on leash or off leash. So, I mean, I'm not sure that that's going to be the defining criteria.
Harder to track though when they're off leash.
I don't know
Easier
about
to,
that.
easier to identify when they're 4 feet from you.
Yeah, but we don't have police officers who are like monitoring the parks at all times to hand out citations to people who are letting their dogs poop. You're going to be the only person in the field. Your dog's going to be on or off leash. It's going to poop. You're going to wander off.
We don't, but we're saying that you can have your dog off leash for 3 months, and then the kids are coming on there to play, and then
2 weeks later.
but who's going out to make sure that that field's clean and prepared for kids to go on to play soccer and slide into?
It'll rain in the 2 weeks between March 1st and March 15th.
Well, I'm glad
Look,
my kids are phasing out of middle school.
At the end of the day, the residents have asked us to make some space available. Making 4 months of this park available to the residents, I don't have a dog. I don't personally care. They've asked for this, and it's ultimately their parks. I feel like we should try and find a way, and if we're giving them 4 months that we can afford to give them.
So Jack, but you,
3 months that we can afford to
you
give
say
them.
they asked for this. I heard, 2, 3, maybe 4 people asked for it at a meeting. I'm sure you've gotten more. But throughout this 5 years, we've had residents asking for a whole lot of stuff and then ultimately the difficult decision about saying yay or nay to those requests fall on us. So we have had many community members want, all dogs, all place, all ways, and we're trying to, we're trying to rein that in. So I don't know. It feels like in this one little spot we're, carving out an exception, and now as we're discussing it, it feels like it's harder and harder to do that for this one spot.
Yes.
Any other comment?
Sorry, yeah, so the North Wayne one, though, if we just approve it the way it is, they can be on leash
Yes.
there, but they have to stay off the athletic field and off the playground, away from the playground.
Right.
They can be on leash or off leash during the months that were mentioned.
No, without the amendment, just. right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
What do you mean they're prohibited from going onto the playing field? Like the whole field's a playing, the whole lot is a playing field. Are we talking like the baseball infield?
No, if you go to any of those parks that have a field, there's a sign that says dogs are not allowed on the athletic fields.
I mean,
They're also not allowed on the playground.
So the soccer field is obviously larger.
But there's still a perimeter around it.
Well, I think they use
Tape or whatever.
the vast amount of the playing field because they have both 7th and 8th graders out there. So you'd have 2 to 3 games going for practice, for scrimmages. So the majority of that grass area is used for playing surface.
Yeah, I know. So the dog's not allowed on there, leash or not leash. So that's why you want the dog leashed.
Correct. I thought you were saying that on leash, they're still prohibited from the playing fields.
As it's written, Section A, 8A.
Okay, I just don't know how you get a dog, I don't know how you
Says
take
that.
a dog to that park and not have it on part of the playing field.
If you go and park, you can go up
Yeah,
to the right, and I can go all the way behind the batting cage and around it without being on the field.
I
I've
think
been-
it's very confusing that nobody is going to follow that.
Well, there's a sign, but there's a sign that says, dog's not allowed on the athletic fields, right, field or fields.
Okay, I just can't see, as a dog owner, I can't see that I'm going to walk a dog and take a zigzag to a 4x4 area that I can.
It's
let
not a
my dog-
4x4 if you went to perimeter. You're going on the longest walk you can take is going around the perimeter.
Which I assume you're going to be on some of the playing field.
No, the playing field can't be where the fence is. There's a gap there just for safety.
And
Okay.
it's a very special dog that will remain walking with the owner on a perimeter if you have him off leash.
No, this is not off leash.
Oh,
On a leash.
Yeah.
Just on a leash.
I just don't think that'll be followed.
How about other field parks, like Ditmar or Emlyn Canal or,
Well, Ditmar has a surfaced area. It's a track.
right, I mean, it's got the.
Paved,
Yeah.
so it's designed to walk around. It's essentially a bowl, and you have a surface around the playing fields that.
Canals like that too,
Yeah,
sort
that
of, yeah.
dogs, that dog walkers stay on. I mean, there's one or two that I think don't follow that, and they let their dogs run across. I also don't think that they're Radnor residents, so it's another issue. But, I mean, that park is designed for multi-use, and for people, it's a clear delineation, what's walking and what's playing.
So I'm not sure are you advocating that this North Wayne Park should not have dogs?
No, I'm not. I just don't know that you can keep them off the playing fields. Like, if we're going to allow dogs there, my sense of that field is it's going to be walked on.
Any comment? No. Any further commissioner comments on the amendment now? And we'll put the amendment to vote. Oh, I'm sorry, public participation. Come on down.
Hi, Tom Lowry, 417 North Wayne Avenue, user of multiple dog parks in the past. Both my dogs have passed. In general, when there's no children before the hours of 3 o'clock on the fields, they're not occupied by anyone or used by anyone. So at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, there's no children present. It's usually people and dogs. And from my experience over the last 10 years, the dog owners are pretty vociferous about calling out any owner that doesn't pick up after their dog. Most of the time, the poop is fox, deer, or other wild animals that get to use the park too, unleashed. So I think that if you want to set an ordinance, you could set a time, and most dog owners, if you have a rule that says when there's children playing on the field, the dogs have to be leashed, that would be fairly obvious and not subject to interpretation of what time or when a field can't be walked on with a dog off leash. That's just my input. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public participation.
Sarah Pilling, 29 Garrett Avenue, much of the same. So in Garrett Hill, we have two parks. Macrone, no dogs are allowed ever. And then we have Emlyn Tunnel. So between the end of June and the middle to the end of the following March, there are no township organized activities on that field. The people who use it are people who walk their dogs or walk themselves in the morning. We have 3 stations to pick up poop bags, and we have 8 trash cans to deposit it. And I walk my dog there every day. She's not off a leash because she would run away, and I can't run. Are the people who use the Emlyn Tunnel are Garrett Hill residents. We don't have people coming in from other parts of the township. It's just Garrett Hillians. And we are very responsible for picking up. I agree that if we see someone not picking up after their dog, we speak to them. And as a matter of fact, if you watched at Emlyn Tunnel, you would see that the owner is tailing the dog. So if Tom Ellis brings Sweetie there, she's old, he's following right after, so if she goes, he has the bag ready. I would propose that you allow us to monitor Emlyn Tunnel between the end of June and mid to the end of March, depending on the winter, when the teams start, and then we have our dogs leashed. No one's on those fields till 3:30 in the afternoon. So we can keep it picked up and keep the dogs off at that time. It just does not seem fair to close down an entire neighborhood with no place to walk. There are no sidewalks in Beaupre. There is two sidewalks on Garrett Avenue. It is skinny, guys. And with the telephone poles, it's even skinnier. It's really not appropriate to walk your dog. And you get anywhere west, there are no sidewalks to walk on. And I'll tell you, it can be scary to walk in Beaupre on the road with your dog because the cars don't care. So I think we should be fair. We do not really have a playground. I could tell you the story of the one swing set and one sliding board, that if it hadn't been for Greg Vitale, that never would have gotten there. So we don't have a playground. We just have a path that goes around the field. And you say, Jim, we could walk on the outside. Have you looked at the grade of outside the walking path?
Yes.
It's up or it's down. It's not appropriate for someone my age to walk on unlevel ground. And I got to say one more thing. As the person who picks up every day when I walk my dog, picks up the trash, particularly during season when the little girls, because that's who it is, drop their bubblegum wrappers. I pick them up every day. I pick up the water bottles. I pick up everything. Why do I do it? Because I want the park to look nice. So I think you should let the neighbors monitor this off-season, which is from the end of June till the middle of the following March. That's 9 months of the year. There's no organized activity. It's just an open space. And it's important for the people who use it and who walk it to be able to walk it with or without their dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for cleaning up the bubblegum wrappers.
Madam President, Madam President, if I may, I just want to clarify. So, I mean, Radnor Wayne Little League, I know they book the field all day Saturdays and Sundays and during the evenings in the fall. They may not use it every day. I know sometimes they tend to put a blanket on their reservations, but we do have records that they are using the field for fall softball.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Jeff? No?
Oh,
Yeah, I just saw your light on.
yeah, sorry. I like the idea of opening North Wayne in the mornings rather than just for 3 months. I had concerns about doing that because you're going to have dog poop all over the field on the day that the kids are going to play, but honestly, if it's open to dogs on leashes, I think you have the same issues. So if there's the appetite for that, I'd be happy with that instead.
That makes your amendment a little less cohesive than it was a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I think that the language then would be North Wayne Park from 6 a.m. through 12 noon, except as posted by the Radnor Township Parks Department.
And
Can I just suggest that you vote on the first proposed amendment? The first proposed amendment, Jack, as I
I'll withdraw it.
understand, it was December 1st to March 1st.
Yeah, I'll withdraw it. If it makes more sense to do it half-day in the morning, I think it makes a million times more sense. For the sake of procedure, I would just say I would move to amend such that Romanet 3 would say North Wayne Park from 6 a.m. through 12 p.m., except as posted by the Radnor Township Parks Department.
And year-round, is that?
Correct.
Say the hours again? 6 to noon.
So Jack,
or dawn.
I'm happy to see your position, James's position. Ward 6 is lucky that they have 8+ parks, so we have the opportunity to have parks that are no dogs, parks that are dogs on leash, and then parks that are off leash, all in walking distance. So that's a luxury and a benefit. that I think some of the other wards don't have. And so I'm sympathetic for your position and for the neighbors there. North Wayne, so there is a playground there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I understand that the neighbors say that, you know, nobody uses that park. You know, what shields the playground from where the dogs would be allowed off leash?
I mean, right now, the ordinance as drafted would say you can't take your dog onto the playground. I don't recall that it has a fence, but I could be wrong about that.
It does not.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like set back in a little alcove right next
Yeah.
to the storage building that we have there on the site, the North Wayne building.
I can't feel like there's going to be a lot of kids out there at 6 a.m.
I'm not saying 6 a.m., but I'm saying,
We want to
you
say
know,
Monday through Wednesday.
babysitters do, you know, take young children out to playgrounds, or young parents take their kids out to playgrounds. You know, weekends are another opportunity for kids to get on the playground. That is a neighborhood that has young families. So I have to assume that playground is used at some point. So I'm just saying that it's a concern that has not been raised, that we'd be allowing off-leash dogs, which, again, I would support if that's the way the board wants to go. And you know the neighbors best. But it's a concern that to have a playground where dogs are allowed to run off-leash.
Well, the dogs aren't allowed to run off leash there. They are physically capable of doing that because the ordinance says no dogs on playgrounds.
I'm looking at what we did with Skunk Hollow again, and, you know, to your point that, you know, there are small preschool children, and, you know, families tend to have opportunity to get together and do things more on weekends. Would you be okay with doing free-range dogs mornings, Monday through Friday? But, you know, we have at Skunk Hollow, they're leashed Saturdays and Sundays during that time period. You know, they carved out weekend as a different approach.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or as posted.
Yeah.
Or as posted. So you're following, basically, you'd put them in the same category as Skunk Hollow.
My biggest concern about doing a carve-out for a dog park is that we're not calling it a dog park. The minute we make a change, and it's no longer under control, it's full off-leash, we say under control, but we know the difference. I will tell you that Nextdoor app, Facebook, like all of these places are going to announce that Radnor just opened a new dog park. It will become a dog park, and we just have to be okay with that. It's not going to just, and all those neighbors who love that park right now are going to get inundated with people who have found that we've got this other wonderful place you can take your dogs. I know it's going to happen. It won't, I mean, somebody was saying, we're not even sure if they're Radnor residents. Doesn't matter. There are parks. They're public. So it's not going to be restricted to those residents who walk over there now. It's going to be announced to the world, we have a dog park in North Wayne. So it's your ward, it's your amendment. I just think that we have to call it what we're calling it. And in fact, I think it should be, you know, up in the dog park section to make it very clear. And then, you know, that's what everybody's going to know. They're going to know there's a third dog park.
I did propose that last time I got voted down. Oh, I'm sorry. I did propose that last time, and it went nowhere. And I think everyone was right, actually, for it to go nowhere.
To call it a dog park?
To call it a dog park.
It's going to be. You can call it what you want to, but the minute you
Saying.
say off-leash for any period of time, that's going to become a dog park.
I see your point.
What is that?
I don't know.
Ooh, did I call some, did I like hit 911?
I thought it was going red and green.
Sorry, my light on my mic did something different.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just calling that out as an issue that we
No,
have to be
yeah, as soon
prepared
as-
for, and I think Tammy and her team and our police and everybody who needs to know that we're creating a dog park. We've just done that by your amendment.
Yeah, but we're making it where an athletic field is
That's right.
and a playground.
Yes, we are.
I do not think it's a good idea to have dogs off leash.
I would actually say, you know, if there could be some sort of, I mean, if we feel like we need another dog park in this community, let's figure out what the best park is and turn it into a dog park. If we've got more dog owners than we have space to allow them to run their dogs, let's figure out which park that is, do some fencing, some signage, and create a new dog park.
Any further comments? Seeing none. Any further public participation?
Tom Rowley, 417 North Wayne Avenue. I'm finding it confusing that you're setting rules for how parks are used. You're not giving it a new name. You're calling it, it's still North Wayne Park. You're just setting some underlying rules for how the park is used by who and when. Same as every other park in the township. Don't they all have rules? And don't they all have names? You don't call Emlyn Tunnel, you don't call Macrone Park by other names. You don't call it Macrone Dog Park. You don't say what the rules are. I see you acting out of fear that somebody's going to know that you can have a dog off leash, and 6 in the morning, I don't see hundreds of people showing up at 6 in the morning to walk their dogs. It's mostly, and has been for the last 15 years that I've had a dog, or 10 that I've had dogs, the people who can walk over to the park. There's not a lot of parking. No people usually drive up to walk their dog. And there are usually only dog walking people in those parks at that time. So you're not creating North Wayne Dog Park. You're just setting some rules for how the participation and use of that park are controlled, which is fair to everyone so that they know the rules. Because if you don't have the rules, then you have anarchy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Jack, I'm totally confused. Will you repeat your amendment now? What you mean? We've changed it so many times.
Yes, to add Romanet 3 to subsection B, North Wayne Park from 6 a.m. through 12 noon and except as posted by Radnor Township Parks Department.
All right.
And was that Monday to Friday? Or?
Yeah, I think that was well taken, from Monday to Friday. Thank you for the correction. I'll reread it. Romanet 3 would become North Wayne Park from 6 a.m. until 12 noon, Mondays through Fridays, except as posted by the Radnor Township Parks Department.
Can I clarify one thing with Director Cohen? Right now, aren't we dawn? So in the winter, dawn is at 8 or whatever. It's
The park hours
Yes.
are dawn to dusk.
dawn, so it would be dawn to
Dawn.
noon.
That's fine, dawn to noon.
Tammy, who owns that park?
Radnor Township School District.
Oh, no. Okay. Is there any obligation that we have a conversation with the owners of the park before we make this type of rule?
But there's tons of kids that use that park, and they use it for soccer all the time. They walk up from the middle school all the time and have for decades. It's not a good idea to change it. I think our current thing that we're trying to pass, not the current thing, the original thing in the agenda is a safer bet, simpler.
It is definitely safer and simpler. If the issue is that we don't have the authority because our lease doesn't give us authority with the school district, then we can't either direction say leashes are fine, no leashes are fine. And I don't know what else on this list is owned by the school district.
To now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we just want to delete it from the list altogether? We're not legislating on North Wayne and Tunnel?
Tammy, how's the park being used now? I mean, there's no limits that I
There's no
recall.
limits. There's no limit
Yeah.
at either park now. So that of which is under control to me or some other owners, just under control. There's no requirement for a leash, just under control. So the park's being used.
Right. Yeah, I don't think
to
there's
Jack's
any.
point
yeah.
now, similarly to what we would be passing here all the time.
All right. So we're going to vote first on the amendment. As amended by Commissioner Larkin, that North Wayne Park be off leash from dawn until noon, Monday till Friday, with no month restriction, and otherwise is an on-leash park.
Except as posted.
Except as posted. Thank you. All right. All in favor of that amendment? Opposed? You'll do an aye? All right, so can we see all in favor again? Aye. All right, we'll all go in. That's, and opposed? Opposed, Commissioner Riley, so that's 6-1.
Can I just?
For the amendment.
Just to be clear, so what we just approved is actually more restrictive than what's there now, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, good.
But less restrictive than the ordinance as written for this one park. All right, well, that's what we're doing now.
And
so.
just to Jim's point, Jim, I tend to agree with you on safety and, yeah, and to simplify. But as you said, kids have gone there for decades, but they've gone there for decades under the current regulations, which allow off-leash. So what we passed is actually more restrictive.
Yeah, but they still have signs that say dogs are not allowed on the athletic fields. That is a sign that is there, and hopefully people do it. Some other spots they don't, but maybe they did it.
Okay.
So is there any reason to remove those signs? I mean, those would remain to try to keep people to.
But it's hard to do that
Sure.
if they're not on leash.
Which currently they're not at all, ever. So this is helping keep dogs off the fields during field playtime.
Yeah.
Sold. Now we've got to do the ordinance as amended. So, do I need to read the whole thing again? 2025-03, adoption of ordinance of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the Radnor Township Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 205, Park and Recreation Areas, Article 1, 205-4. Restricted activities ordinance will outline specifically the current permissions of where dogs are permitted across parks as amended by Commissioner Larkin, and it was passed. All in favor?
Do we have to have final public comment?
Oh, a final public comment.
And just to clarify again, is this final passage?
This is final adoption.
This is for adoption? Even with the amendment? Okay.
Again, Sarah Pilling, 29 Garrett Avenue. First place, I am astonished that any of you think that a responsible dog owner wouldn't pick up its dog's poop. I'm absolutely astonished. Well, I don't go to Skunk Hollow. But you'll only find one errant person at Emlyn Tunnel, and it's this 12 inches from the walking path, not on the field. I would ask an exception for Emlyn Tunnel. You've made an exception for North Wayne Field. That we be allowed to run our dogs, make it dawn till noon, Monday through Friday, because we are responsible people. And I really don't like seeing law come down and saying, you cannot. We are responsible in our neighborhood. And I ask an exception. We do not have a playground. We have a swing and a mini sliding board, period. And I guess that's about all I want to say. I think it's unconscionable to have two parks. There are only two parks in Garrett Hill. It's a small community of small properties with a lot of dogs. And you're making it very difficult. I think we need to accept Emlyn Tunnel, dawn till at least noon, 5 days a week. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Coates, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. I've heard from community members across the board on the issue. I know some folks think that I don't actually speak to the community, but I can promise you I do, both publicly and privately, that are pretty split on this. What I've been talking to Bill and Director Cohen about is a potential process to allow us to get enough signatures and or community support to offer an amendment. I think the ordinance, the way it's written, is really good, and I'm happy to support it. But I do think we should have a process that's not a handful of people in here or a handful of people on Facebook actually showing community support through a series of petitions that could allow us to take it back to the Parks Board. So for now, I'm in favor of the ordinance as is, but happy to continue talking to the Township Manager and Director Cohen about ways we can make amendments to the ordinance later.
Thank you.
And then just for Director Cohen, if passed, when will those signs in parks where dogs are now permitted, when will those come down?
Well, we could take the signs down immediately. I
Okay.
mean, we can work on that soon. I know there's a 30-day window for the ordinance to be, I think, advertised, evaluated before it's actually enforced. So we can certainly work on that within that time frame, as well as, you know, put up any new signage that we need to as a result, of course, of the ordinance. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
All right. All commissioner comment done? Are we ready to call a vote on the amended ordinance 2025-03? All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. All right, item 3J, Resolution 2025-101, authorizing the award of bids received for the rehabilitation of the Fenimore Woods Stable into park bathrooms as a part of the Fenimore Woods Improvement Project, Contract B-25-003B, to Davis Construction in the amount of $882,225, White Marsh Electric Incorporated in the amount of $59,500, and Innovative Service Contractors in the amount of $91,600, which has been budgeted under the Township Capital Bond issue for park improvements per ordinance 2025-18. Director Cohen.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to recap a little bit on this project, this has been a long process. I definitely want to give an opportunity to thank the members of the public that participated along the way, and of course the Parks and Recreation Board that really helped get us to this point. I know this was a project that went back to them in 2019. We spent a lot of time, and then 2021 they did an analysis, a reanalysis and a reevaluation, where the public was brought in for a couple years, lots of meetings. And of course, the renovation and the restoration of the stable was the #2 objective that we ended up coming out of that recommendation with to the commissioners, which led us to our meeting last June, where the project was presented. We showed the renderings, very excited about the project. We had authorized Seiler Drury to go back to final design and development of the scope when they were authorized to do so then. We had bid the project in February of this year. We unfortunately had to reject the bids because they were incomplete. And the one bid we had, which was part of the three-part of the multi-prime, was excessive. So we came back, we rebid the project in May. And here we are now. We had a very successful bid. We sat down, we met with Davis Construction. They're very excited about this project. They really are eager to get going. In fact, they're able to start in September. They anticipate probably could be a 6-month project for them that they could get done. So we could see ourselves realistically potentially having the building open in the spring. So I think that's really excited. I know there were some questions about their bid and the pricing being so far under where some of the other bids had been, and the next bid, of course, was a lot higher. They have a lot of economies of scale that they're putting towards this. They want to get the business here in Radnor. They want to get their name out. I know they're using one carpenter to do a lot of the interior work that's going to be done in the facility versus piecemealing it with a lot of different subs that would go into that. So that's really something that's enabling them to get this project done. We sat down and met with them, our entire team, our township engineer, Steve Morsini, as well as the Seiler jury team, who've been the architects on the building, just to really triple check this to see is something being omitted that's not part of it. Are there some alternatives that maybe they're proposing that maybe aren't good for us? And getting through all that, we recognize they've captured all the pieces of the scope. So we're excited to get this underway and get this project started. So we're really looking to the board tonight to award this.
Thank you. Very nice, concise description of what's happened. It's been a long haul with this one. Could I get a motion for Resolution 2025-101? So moved by Commissioner Riley, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Larkin, since it's in his ward.
No amendments.
All right, any commissioner questions or comments? Seeing none, public participation. Welcome back.
Hi, Tom Lowry, 417 North Wayne. This is why I came. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. You've done a great job. That's what I came to say.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that and appreciate all the members of the Fenimore Woods Coalition and being part of the charge of this project.
That might be the nicest public participation we've ever had. Thank you. She really has done a fabulous job. I think the whole board can agree on that. All right. Any further public participation? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-101. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Yay. All right, next up is item 3K, Resolution 2025-96, authorization to award the construction contract B-25-004B for the Lancaster Avenue East Traffic Adaptive System installation to Lenny Electric Corporation Incorporated to include contingency and construction inspection administration costs in the total amount of $1,068,440 to be funded from the proceeds of the 2019 General Obligation Bond and a Pennsylvania Department of Transportation grant. Mr. Norsini, want to start us off?
Thank you, Madam President. This project has also been in the works for some time. We already have a portion of Lancaster Avenue that's controlled under the traffic adaptive system. That would basically be the 476 interchanges in 30, Radnor Chester, and a portion of King of Prussia Road up to the high school. So this is to take it, as it states, east down to Lower Marion. So it's going to include St. David's, Villanova Center, Sproul, Kenilworth, Aldwyn, Lancaster, St. Thomas Way, Ithan Avenue, Lowry's, and Airedale. So that would take us down through there, connect those systems together. We've had very good luck, fortune, and with the rhythm system. That's what we use now. That's what's in place on the areas I noted. And that's what this system is. They will be able to talk together. We are able to make changes when we need to, but on the whole, I think that the areas that are controlled by this have improved considerably, and we expect the same for the rest of the system.
Thank you. Could I have a motion for Resolution 2025-96? So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second. Commissioner discussion. First, I want to say thank you because I do agree that the part of the adaptive system you have in now is working really well, and it's a real bottleneck that going through the whole Villanova stretch. So this could potentially make a huge difference, at least to my ward, and it's much appreciated. Other commissioner comment or question? No. Public participation? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-96. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. All right, that concludes our business agenda. Item up next is reports of board liaisons. Most boards are sort of off in the summer, but Commissioner Riley, you've got Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Tammy may have to help me. Odoricio's music night, August 2nd, it got moved, right?
Yes, it was, we got out there, we got set up, we were ready to have the event on July 12th, and the skies just opened up and we were drenched. So our makeup night, of course, is going to be Saturday, August 2nd.
Great.
Any further commissioner issues? No? Any new business? Yes. Go ahead.
We've had a resignation from the EAC, so the Environmental Advisory Committee Council has an opening, if anyone's interested.
Thank you. Anything further? No. Any new business? Commissioner Abel? No?
Old business.
Old business. Was there any new business at this end? I didn't look. No. So go ahead.
All right, thank you. So my understanding is there were some members of the Inverary Housing Association that were here tonight and spoke in the opening public comment. To my frustration, we did the testing prior to events in the spring season. Now the testing was encouraging, but it sounds like that the early event, but the testing was, it wasn't an apples for apples. It was trying to mimic what the sounds would sound, the volumes that they would be played at an event. But it wasn't an event, so it wasn't real time. The event started in the spring season, and it sounds to me that the neighbors are experiencing the same issues that they have experienced the last 3 to 4 years. We discussed this when we did the testing. We said that a moratorium on the tent and outdoor events was an option, but it was an option that we were going to hold off on until we saw what the early results were this season. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't think it's been promising, and so I would look. We signed the lease. I think we own the issue. And I think we need to call for a moratorium on outdoor events until we can look at other options and be able to control that noise and sounds from escaping the willows and, really having an impact on the quality of life for the residents around the willows.
Would you propose we?
Well, I think it needs to happen before the next, I don't know when the next events occur. I'm assuming it's going to be this weekend. But, this is an issue we've talked about. It doesn't come as a surprise. The neighbors are still being impacted by the noise.
Can I do a point of order? John, this feels to me like, we're looking at,
It's not on the agenda.
Contracts and lease, and it wasn't on the agenda, and so I think
You can't take any action.
we can't take any action tonight, but obviously we were here, we heard, we understand that there must have been another event that was impacting those neighbors, so I'm going to task you, I'm going to ask if you would, talk to Bill, get the group together, and, figure out if they need to come to us on some emergency decision that is different than what the Willows has in their contract now. I think it needs a little bit more work. I definitely know that it's a problem, and these neighbors they're heard by us for sure. But I just don't think we can do it tonight. And I think
Understand.
Get those groups back together. Ask the Willows why there was a failure this time that seems to have really raised these issues, and let's get to fixing it again.
And to the Willows Park Preserve, to their credit, they have the new hire on site. He has been responsive, is my understanding, to the neighbors, but I don't know that it's sustainable. So it's multiple calls per event, and it's not just one event. So there's still an issue. It hasn't been resolved. There is a Mondo proposal out there for a different sound system with a lockbox. That might be an option and something that the Willows Park Preserve wants to explore. But to your point, understand it's not on the agenda. I've called the board out for that in the past, for taking a vote on something that hasn't been made public, and so I agree with that. But so John, what are the options at this point? So we're not meeting for another 4 weeks, which could be 8 events. I don't know that we want to go. I know the neighbors don't want to experience another 8 events where they're being impacted by the noise. If it takes an emergency meeting, I'm willing to make that request. Well, I said I'd make the request. I didn't say I would call for it.
I just found out in the last day or so, there's been some communication with Bill and Dennis Capella from some of the residents, and so I don't know any of the background other than what I heard tonight. You also have an issue, I'm sure, that the Willows Park Preserve probably has contracts themselves to do certain things that involve outdoor music. So, I would step very carefully shutting that down because, the language in the lease, which was read tonight, WPP acknowledges and agrees it will access and use the leased premises in such a manner as to not interfere with nor cause disturbance to Radnor residents using the park or residing at or near the park. So it's a pretty subjective standard. And, that I think needs some thought. Some people are aggravated by certain things and other people are not. So I don't know who's measuring the noise out there. This always goes back to, putting into place a noise ordinance with decibel levels, which we don't have. And I can tell you, I drafted one many years ago, and the board was not interested. So that's something that, and that's a difficult thing too. It's difficult to enforce, but that's a pretty standard thing in municipalities. There's a certain decibel level for certain activities, usually by zoning district. So you might want to look at that as a longer term. It doesn't satisfy the residents that are here tonight. But
So I'll just say, I have no appetite to tell the Willows that they're not permitted to do outdoor events. I think that they will immediately declare us in breach of their lease. I have all the appetite in the world to craft a enforceable, objective noise ordinance that says you can have this many decibels and no further. And then if the residents are unhappy with the noise, they call the police. The police can go out with the decibel meter. If it's too loud, they go and they tell the Willows to turn it down. And it seems like a really straightforward solution to the problem. The tough part of it is deciding what is the reasonable decibel level. But the thing is, we can look at all the municipalities around us who have made decisions about what the reasonable decibel is. I've had a couple of noise ordinance cases that got really involved, and the levels that I heard seemed reasonable to me at the time. And if sometimes you can hear your neighbors, and if sometimes they're playing music, that's the frustrating thing about living in a non-rural area. We kind of got to live with that sometimes. If it's really loud, it's a pounding beat, it exceeds the decibel levels, by all means, shut them down. That's what the police will go and do.
So we had this conversation, and Will Nord was in front of us, and we talked about if the noise was not acceptable to the neighbors. I don't have the meeting minutes, but I think Will was in agreement that they were prepared to go inside and use the solarium for the music, at least until we can find a solution that is acceptable.
My memory is a little different than that, but because of these contracts that are already in place and people have booked it for the outdoor, for the reason that they have it outdoor, they were looking at pulling them back in sort of the next years, like fulfilling all of these additional contracts. So it's still going to be some time out, even if they were to say we no longer do outdoor music. It's going to be, it's going to be going forward, and they have events booked out like for a couple years. This is a really sticky, I understand the issue, it's a really sticky situation. We have to balance the needs of two very compelling groups, right? So I think it needs more work. I think, we're sort of biting at it. They put a couple, things in place, try to see if those work. They hired somebody, we're gonna see if that works. I mean, I think we just have to iteratively improve this, particularly because they're contracted out. And, we need to make a decision quickly so they stop continuing those contracts, if that's the will of the board. But I think this is another negotiating meeting. I don't think at this board meeting are we gonna come up with the solution, because, it's a sticky one. But I think it needs more work with the WPP, township staff, and the neighbors. You got to kind of come back to the table.
But that is a concern that has been raised, booking years out. We raised this issue with the WPP in early 2000, probably early 2024, maybe 2023, that this was a concern, and that continuing to book these events without having a solution was going to further the problem. So that is on the record, and has been a discussion point.
But we never made that decision. We're not going to say stop now because we might come up with a new rule for you. I don't think we can have them pause until we've made the decision. So again, I don't think that it's at a board meeting are we going to solve it. It's going to be nights of the event, bringing people together, staffing it up better, making better reports. I mean, there's a lot of, within that process to improve it. But until we have a decision, I don't think we can restrain them. It's how they're making money to improve the house that we own. So, they have a directive from us to restore that house. And they can't do it. I mean, the money from the township is dried up. So it's all on their events and their fundraising. And they are, I think we all saw a really great presentation. I mean, their fundraising numbers are up, but the events are gonna be what gives them the pot of money to make the improvements and not just continue as is. There's a lot of restoration still to do.
So I am going to have a conversation with WPP's counsel this week. I got an email from her. I'll get some information. If the board wants to see the noise ordinance, which was drafted, I can circulate that. That's a longer-term issue, but
I think that would actually be helpful, and we might be able to even get it on the next agenda if we work at it.
Yeah,
If it's already written, then we just would need to look at some other townships and find out what their decibels are. And
and even if you have an ordinance on the books, it's still a little difficult to enforce to some extent, because you got to take measures at property boundaries, and it comes down to a citation usually if somebody's violating it. But we don't have that tool at this point, and I think it's probably in a non-rural community. I think it's helpful to have that. That gets people's attention. So I'll circulate that.
that would be terrific. And then Commissioner Abel, there were 3 demands from the people that were here. They want the Mondo box, they want all music inside immediately, and they want to enforce the terms of the lease, which they handed out to us. So just so you have that information when you talk to them or meet. And if we do it virtually in the next week, I'm happy to partake. And I bet Commissioner Agnew is too. We've all been a little bit involved in this. So. All right, any further old business? Any final public participation? Seeing none, could I have a motion to adjourn? And a second. Second by Commissioner Riley. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.